Okay, so in lesson 9.2, we cover a new type of transformation called a reflection. And I'm going to jump right into the definition of a reflection. A reflection is a transformation that uses a line like a mirror to reflect a figure. The mirror line is called the line of reflection. So a reflection in a line named M, if you look to the right, it maps every point P in the plane to a point called P prime, P with an apostrophe. So that for each point, one of the following properties is true. If P is not on line M, then M is perpendicular to the bisector of P to P prime. And I'm going to highlight that in green. This segment, okay? Or if P is on line M, then P and its image are the same. So the main thing I want you to understand is that P and P's image are what's called equidistant from M. And I'll write that better. From line M. So P and its image are the same distance from M, but in opposite directions. So a lot of reflecting has to do with being able to basically count in the opposite direction. So we're going to graph triangle ABC and its image after a given reflection. So ABC is going to be 1, 3, 0.13, 5, 2, and 2, 1. Okay, and that's A, B, C. Now, we are reflecting it over the line x equals 3. And I want you to write this down, that x equals 3 is a vertical line with an x value of 3. So x equals 3 will be 1, 2, 3. We're reflecting it over this vertical line. And I'm going to use blue to graph the reflection of A. All right? So if we're reflecting over this vertical line, the image of A, since A, the pre-image, is 2 to the left of this line, the image of A is 2 to the right of this line. Mirrored. Okay, so we're mirroring A over that line. B is 2 to the right of this line. So the image of B is 2 to the left of this line, mirrored. So the image of B, B. And we put that little apostrophe to show it's an image. C is 1 to the left of the line. So the image of C is 1 to the right of the line. So that is the image of C. Now this example is a little confusing because we're reflecting over the line and this shape overlaps the line. So it's a little bit confusing, but you can see how that's mirrored. That is an image that is mirrored, okay? So an example, or part B of this example, we're gonna graph the same image, pre-image, A, B, C, but now we are reflecting over the line y equals 1. Oop, not what I wanted. The line y equals 1. And that line is not vertical, it is horizontal. And I'd like you to write down horizontal to remember y equals 1 is a horizontal line with a y value of 1. So to graph this reflection, to graph A is 2 above our line of reflection, so image of A is 2 below our line of reflection. So that is the image of A. B is 1 above our line of reflection. The image of B is 1 below our line of reflection. And then C is on our line of reflection, so the image of C is also on that line of reflection. So this is a little bit better visual of a reflection because not every point overlaps that line of reflection. So the main thing I want you to remember is that when you have a line that is x equals a constant, it's a vertical line. Y equals a constant is a horizontal line. So what I'd like you to do next is to try the guided practice, which takes similar examples to what we just did and has you graph those transformations using those similar examples. So this is a good chance for you to pause the video and try to do these examples on your own using the last 2 examples I covered as a guide. Okay, so for these examples, x equals 4 is a vertical line when x is 4. Y equals -1 is a horizontal line when y is -1. So being able to draw these is just us mirroring each point over the line of reflection and then graphing those points and connecting them to create a shape. So when you graph these, you should notice your shape that you draw, or your image that you draw, should be the same size and same shape, just a different orientation than your pre-image. So moving ahead, this is where your pink sheet with the rules is going to help you. So FG is going to have endpoints -1, +2, and then, so it's F, and then G is 1, +2. So that's our segment. So I'm going to write out each of these points so that we understand how this rule gets applied, okay? Image of F, image of G. The line Y equals X. If you look at your rules, the way this should look on your sheet is that you start with the point X, Y, and it gets transformed into the point YX, which essentially means that X and Y are swapped. So for the image of F, that's just going to become 2, -1. The image of G is going to become 2, 1. All X and Y did was change places. That's literally all that happened. So that line Y equals X is really this line of reflection. It's a line through the origin with a slope of 1. So to show this reflection, I'm going to graph the point 2, -1, and then 2, 1. Okay, so this is the image of G, this is the image of F, and that's a reflection over the line Y equals X. You just change X and Y's places. That's all that happens. In example 3, reflecting over the line Y equals -X does something a little bit different. What this rule does is that it does swap X and Y, but it also changes both of their signs. So I'm going to, I forgot what those points were. -1, 2, and 1, 2. Okay, so F was -1, 2. G was 1, 2. And we are reflecting over the line Y equals -X, and I'll draw that first. Y equals -X is a line through the origin with the slope of -1, okay? So that rule causes us to change X and Y's places and change both their signs. So F, the image of F, becomes -2, +1. Swapped X and Y, change their signs. The image of G, -2, -1. So I'll graph the pre-image first. -1, +2, 1, 2. Okay, that's FG, the pre-image. The image is -2, +1 for F, -2, -1 for G. So that's a reflection over the line Y equals -X. You switch X and Y's places, and you change both their signs. So the last thing I'd like you to do is, for the guided practice down here, is just try 2 different reflections. The first one is just over the x-axis, so your line of reflection is literally the x-axis. And then number 4, Y equals -X. Line through the origin with a slope of -1. So take a minute to pause the video and try these, and then I'll go through the answers so you can move ahead to some practice on this topic. Okay, so for these answers, for number 3, I reflected it over the x-axis. So what that had me do was draw the x-axis as my line of reflection, and pre-image of J was 3 above the x-axis, image of J was 3 below. Pre-image of L was 1 above, image was 1 below. Image of K, pre-image of K, 4 above, image of K, 4 below, that line of reflection. For JKL in the other example, for 4, I just swapped X and Y and changed their signs in my head. So 1, 3 became -3, -1. 4, 4 became -4, -4. 3, 1 became -3, -1. So if you need to write out the points to do the rule, that is a good practice to do. So just remember, reflecting over y equals negative x, swap x and y, change their sign. Okay, so I'd like you to get some practice applying the rules so you can move on to the next step of the lesson.